Good afternoon. It is Tuesday. No, yes, good afternoon. It is Tuesday, August 13th, bad launch. 12:25 p.m. lunch hour for many of you right now in central Indiana. Hope you're doing well. This is move-in day +1 at the Boiler Dowd household. Chris Harder's here to say hi. That's awesome. I don't know where Chris is. Maybe he's out west still. Maybe he's gallivanting. I can guarantee you that, through the skies and on land. I've got a little report of optimism of many ways. Optimism around the Purdue football team, optimism around my personal life because of what happened yesterday. I can tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly of what move-in day looked like for LBD. You can see part of it in the thumbnail from today. But before I do it, I want to thank our friends at Home Field Apparel. Head over to homefieldapparel.com, grab a t-shirt, sweatshirt, hat. Maybe get one of those platinum packs for yourself. Treat yourself right and get some really, really exclusive stuff in the platinum pack. It's been curated, put together just for you. If you enter boiled 25, you'll get 15% off your first purchase there. And of course, when you're on campus, head towards the fire station. I actually headed towards the fire station yesterday at around 7:45. Long day. I did not go to AJ's because I couldn't get my wife to get the idea that we should sit down, take a deep breath. Instead, we had to rush home to get back to our daughter, who is not at Purdue. So we had a fast food meal near the mall. It was garbage, but if I would have gone to AJ's, I would have been happy. You should go to eatajs.com before next time you go on campus. And then when you go there, order ahead, grab a pint, get some burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. I'm sad I didn't get to go yesterday. But here's what, let me tell you the good and the bad and the ugly for move-in day for LBD. First thing, the great is having your son go to your alma mater. It's awesome. Awesome feeling. Just a great thing. Super proud of him. Excited for his next chapter. Really excited. Didn't think this would upset me. Didn't upset me yesterday at all. But yeah, really excited. If he's watching, I don't think he is. I don't think he considers himself the demographic for Boiled Sports, but maybe he will now that he's on campus. But fun day. He got moved into his room. The good news is that moved him in. He's rooming with his cousin, which is incredible. Another blessing in our family. Really, really good deal. We didn't have any meltdowns. Nobody got at each other. We had two different families moving each other in. And then we had a bonus third family because Purdue has completely botched the dorms yet again. If you're a member of the freshman class, family members in the freshman class, maybe you got kicked in the nuts by Purdue as well. Pretty amazing. As you know, I'm a pretty big Purdue fan, but boy, have they screwed up this dorm stuff. To have 3 people in a 2-man dorm is really tough. Not necessarily because it's impossible, but all the furniture, all the stuff, the gear, the third roommate is coming in from well out of state. This is difficult stuff. And all the families did great in the very, very close quarters. Hopefully you had a great day if you were moving your kids in. The Boiler Gold Rush is so well done. The kids there that are volunteering are awesome. I don't know, whatever they do to get those kids there, they pick good ones. And that was neat, being around them. A lot of enthusiasm, excited for the kids that get to go through this. I didn't get to go through it. The first year it was called Boiler Gold Rush. I was a freshman at Purdue. And I told some people that, it used to have a different name, but they repackaged it, made it a little bit better. And what a neat thing to have like camp leading right into your first semester in college. It's awesome. So, I don't know. It was a great day. Bittersweet, obviously, to have your oldest kid move out of your house today. It's more quiet. I told my wife we're going to have to adjust our grocery buying. Maybe you've been through this. We have not. So sorry about the big digression there. But super proud of my son and excited for him. And if you guys have been around here a long time, you remember him when he was a little guy. So live streaming, this happens. Okay. let's talk about football so I can stop being an idiot. Coach Walters talked a lot about the scrimmage afterwards, after Purdue had a somewhat uneventful scrimmage. Walters put his thoughts together, and I'm going to react to Walters' thoughts. But the first thing, the big takeaway that I took away before anything else is the amount of injuries kind of are mounting. I think this was hinted at by different members of the media. But the big thing that I took away was some of the guys that are super dynamic are nicked up right now. It doesn't sound like anybody's injured for the long term that we know of yet. I do know that Coach Walters, one commonality he has with Jeff Brom is keeping all that stuff close to him, not talking about it to the public, which is fine. But there's a lot of guys that are nicked up right now, and I'll go through that. One thing that was really positive from that scrimmage, according to him, he said he called it a clean, physical, high-effort brand of football. That's really, really great to know that you have a bunch of players that are there to do a job. You don't have to kick them in the ass. I'm sure it's awesome for the coaching staff. The bad news, though, is you have a lot of guys that you want to be there that can't practice right now. Let me go through them right now. CJ Madden, one of the Georgia products, he's out right now, but just out for a couple of days, according to that linebacker. Corey Stewart, offensive lineman, he's got an MCL sprain. He should be available for week 1. CJ Smith, the dynamic wide receiver, 6'3" wide receiver, another Georgia product. He's out with a hamstring. This could be tricky, but as of right now, it doesn't look serious. He will miss the Indiana State game. That's bad news. Good opportunity, though, for those many, many young wide receivers to step in and do some big things. Nyland Green, the defensive back, another Georgia kid. He's out right now because of he got his foot stepped on, I guess. Sounds like. He's going to miss Indiana State as well. Cam Brown, another wide receiver. He is out because of a spring surgery. He's out 1 to 2 weeks, kind of getting ready. He should be ready for Indiana State. Joe Anderson, defensive lineman. Well, it's a pretty good injury report, isn't it? Joe Anderson, defensive lineman. He also had spring surgery. He's out for 1 to 2 weeks, so he should be ready for Indiana State. Dixon Veal is out with a minor MCL sprain. He should be only out for a couple weeks. And then the big one, Rod Green, offensive lineman. He's a junior, 6'5" guy. He's out for the season with a torn labrum surgery he had to have. Let's see. He was a JUCO transfer, if you don't know who he was. Pretty tough to keep up on who exactly everybody is, but if you're just like me, you're just trying to figure it out. One thing I thought was funny, there was a great quote by Coach Walters. He said that he really didn't want to have the 2 bye weeks during the season. He didn't like that. He specifically didn't want the bye week to be so early in the season. If you don't know, Purdue plays Indiana State, then they have a bye right away. But now he says he is, quote, praising the Lord for the bye week after Indiana State because it gives him an extra week to get some of these guys back up to health. And he thinks a lot of them will be available for week 3. Let's see. He said it helps manage injuries in this day and age. He talked about this in a couple different ways, that you have to really manage injuries with depth, and they couldn't do it last year because they didn't have the depth. He said there are elite programs in the conference that have no problem with depth just because they have the roster that's absolutely loaded. Purdue's not one of those, but they have been able to manage this pretty well. And he called this scrimmage, this could be coach speak, could be spin, but he called it a real positive because they were able to give some guys some looks that maybe wouldn't have gotten as many looks. Let's see. He also talked about, because the media has been super curious about that group of 4 Georgia players, talked about the order they came in, who signed first, that sort of thing, how that came about. He said it was not really known until the very last day that they'd have all 4 of them. That's interesting. But one thing that I thought was really cool is he said these guys brought an understanding, a toughness. They know what a winning culture looks like. Of course, coming from Georgia, obviously these guys are really, really good players. They were recruited for Georgia, so that starts there. Good, raw, talented players. But then he said the best thing about this group is they've embraced the Purdue culture. And they're not necessarily when they're gone, it doesn't mean the entire team's gone. It's a good thing since since they're injured right now. But he said the leaders on the team remain Hudson Card and Jenkins and Hartwig and Stevens. Those guys are still the leaders of the team, and these guys have fallen in and said, okay, we want to be part of the culture. We don't want to be above the culture. That's a good sign. That's one of those things about a team gelling, and sure, it's a coach talking about it, but I haven't heard anything from the media who's gotten limited access to the team seeing anything but that. So that's a really, really good thing. Another thing I took away from just practice reports over the last couple of days, and I think this was from on Saturday, was Corey Patterson, the wide receiver coach, talking about Andrew Sawinski. Sawinski, this is the second time I've talked about Sawinski during this camp, which is interesting I think he's scholarship now. I know he's a former walk-on out of Indianapolis, and he's a guy that he's seen probably more playing time than was ever planned because of injuries during the career of the other receivers. He's been around for a long time. It's his fifth year on the roster. But is he the glue guy on this team that can help kind of galvanize the team, bring them together through limited playing time and doing whatever it takes? Patterson, Walters didn't really want to get into this all that much. I don't think he wanted to play this at all, but one of the guys in the media, I think a guy from Golden Black, said, is he kind of a Swiss Army knife of a player? And then Walter said, they should all be ready to play. They should all be ready to play whatever position. He really kind of hard-nosed, old-fashioned coach speak, I thought, off of a pretty fair question. But the big thing that I looked at was that you have all these athletes, you got thoroughbred dudes on that wide receiver core, and Sawinski is showing off because he does exactly what he says he's going to do, does exactly the way he's coached, and he is totally available. If he's needed to play special teams, he does it. If he's needed to run a different route, he does it. Need to move around positions, he does it. I thought that was noteworthy. Maybe you don't. There's no plan for a second scrimmage. Walters talked about that. He said, I'm going to do it as the team needs it. But one of the things I took away was that, again, he's going to manage this team according to what they need physically. Meaning, if you're reading through here, I think he's saying that if injuries are a problem and we need guys to get experience, we may have a scrimmage just to have those second deeps, third deep guys get out on the field, get out on Ross-Ade, play under the lights maybe, and get them ready for the season. So, but there's nothing planned. This isn't like the previous seasons. He talked about the flexibility of having a young coaching staff, something that we've talked about here, the advantage of having these young coaches. And I think it is going to be an advantage at times. One thing that's not an advantage is when you have a old veteran coaching staff that's really, really good at dialing a team in with their calendar and their practice schedule and all that stuff. They know what they're doing because they've had a proven success rate. These guys are trying to figure it out as they go along. And I keep saying that one of the best things about Walters is his humility in admitting that, yeah, I need to get better at something. But one of the worst things about a young coaching staff is they don't know exactly what's working. They are reacting. The great thing is this offseason and most college football off seasons in this modern era of football are ever changing. There's so many things that they're dealing with. The coaching staffs all across America are dealing with just so much change. And it's pretty nice to have a young coaching staff in that case. Another thing that I thought was interesting was Shamar Rigby, the freshman wide receiver that I talked about in the last quick cast. He had probably the catch of the scrimmage. If you're looking at stuff that I've seen out of the scrimmage, he had a catch over around the back of a defensive back. I'm not sure which one it was. But a heck of a catch, and he continues to impress the coaches. Patterson was one of the guys that he impresses. He impressed Walters. I said that. He got Coach Walters' attention. And to have a freshman that's doing this type of big things, that's noteworthy. We'll see. I really don't know. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know what makes Shamar Rigby special among other freshmen. Like, is it his route running or his trusty hands or physicality? I don't know the answer to that yet. As soon as I learn it, I'll come back here and report it to you guys. But I do think it's interesting that he is the freshman receiver that's really, really showing out. So that's about all I had in reaction to the camp reports and the stuff from Coach Walters. I think that's about all I had. Hopefully I won't start tearing up again. Wouldn't that be nice for you to not have to deal with that awkwardness? So the people that are here, appreciate you here. People that are watching on delay, and if you're listening on Believe, thanks to everybody. Chris Harder again says, hey, Need to Be in Verse says, oh, cool. Glad I'm able to catch this one. Ben Carnahan, my buddy from Phoenix and from before, I believe. Ben's been around for a while, but first time we formally met was in Phoenix. Says, hello, Boiler Dowd. Hello, sir. How are you? The Well Ministry says, Dowd legacy continues. Yes, it does, and it's awesome. I know my dad likes to watch the quick casts, and my mom sometimes grabs his account, but they're very proud. So you've got third generation of Dowds on campus. One thing that's crazy, and I had been on campus so many times, right? Because I'm a season ticket holder in football, and I go to 6, 7, 8 games, basketball games a season. But I was really in campus, you know what I mean? Like walking through campus. I went through the co-rec, and boy, campus is different. I know that's going to happen, but it's great. It's awesome to see the modernization in a good way. I don't think they've wrecked anything that, made Purdue special or anything like that. I don't get any of that. It's just awesome to see Purdue growing up. And very, very, very good day, even though they're shoehorned into that little room. Ed Albanese, the king of gummy bears, gummy worms, and all your favorite gummy snacks, says first. I don't think you can say you're first if you're fifth, Ed, but nonetheless, the enthusiasm is always appreciated. Andy Day says, need some football soon. I'm with you. I'm sick of hitting the wall, right? Because the joke is the players hit each other and then they're looking forward to hit someone outside. So yeah, I'm with you. Ryan Michael Anthony Harrington says, what home game are you most looking forward to this season? Hot early ones are always a struggle. Yeah, so I'm with you on that hot early one, but man, I'm looking forward to Indiana State a lot. After that, see, I've got a problem this season. I don't think I'm going to be able to attend the Oregon game because of we go to a trip for fall break, and the placement's bad. I was really looking forward to that Oregon game because of the night and all that, but probably after... I'd say after Indiana State, after the first game for me, the Notre Dame game, just because I still have a pretty white-hot hatred of Notre Dame. I don't think the fan base generally does. My dad and I have talked about that, how it's changed. It's obviously changed with younger kids because it's cooled over years and years of not having them there. What would ignite it is a lot of hype coming into that game around Notre Dame. They're 7th in America right now, according to whatever poll. But beating Notre Dame, here's the other thing. Notre Dame is not as hateable. I hate to say this, but Coach Freeman right away made them less hateable. I like Coach Freeman. And it feels to me that with some of their lack of success in the postseason, maybe, just maybe, even their Subway alums have quieted down a little bit. Or maybe I'm just not around them as much, and so it doesn't bother me. You guys can tell me in the comments if you've had any good interactions with Notre Dame fans, good or bad. Good being sarcastic there. And tell me if you still have the white-hot hatred of Notre Dame that I do, that I grew up with, because I grew up as a kid in Central Indiana in Notre Dame's era of national championships, and I was not a fan of many of the people that were fans. So the Well Ministry says, I swear Purdue has been doing this for dorms since I was in school over 20 years ago. So I know for a fact it's been going on for a decade in some form, at least a decade. Many people on Gold and Black on the Knucklehead board talked about this, sending their kids off and dealing with bull crap, absolute bull crap. And I think it was worse. Some kids literally were, they were making utility closets into rooms for a while. And I hope when I speak on this on my moderate platform with decent reach, and I hope somebody from Purdue is listening to this and they are embarrassed to hell. It bothers me to the middle that a world-class institution botches this so badly time and time again. But now that it affects me personally, I mean, it's more real. Obviously, I thought it was a problem when I was just talking to my friends who are going through it. But this is really bad. It's really poor. And Meng Cheng, president of the university, who I think has done a really good job so far, is now talking about using the University of Purdue at Indianapolis as a pressure valve, where you say, well, you can go there and take classes. None of the solutions I've heard for them at the housing thing have been good enough, in my opinion. Purdue must do better. That's it. Must do better. This is not good. This is not acceptable. You talked about other parents that are moving their kids into school. They're not dealing with this shit, and it is garbage. The third roommate of my son, so he's got his cousin and another guy, nice guy. His older sister goes to Virginia, and she was talking about how nice it is to move in, looking forward to her third year on campus or whatever. I was like, wow, that must be nice to have like housing not be a mad scramble in September, October of your freshman year to what you're going to do sophomore year. But Purdue needs to get this fixed in a damn hurry. So, yeah, it's been going on for a while, though. Sorry for the rant. A lot of sidebars, a lot of personal stuff today. I apologize. Boilerman says choo-choo. The Well Ministry says, good thing there is a bye second week, I guess. Yeah, this year, very good thing. Jim Garfinkel says hamstrings suck, especially for speedsters. There's no minor hammy. They act up consistently forever. I was spitballing. I was talking to my son about this. Isn't it amazing? Maybe he doesn't see this as amazing, that hamstrings are still the problem they have always been. Maybe I'm talking crazy. But it seems to me there should have been some sort of medical advancement, with either some sort of topical thing or an injection or something, or a technique to stretch these guys out to get them ready, that hamstrings wouldn't be this much of a problem. But they are still massively a problem. We saw with Rondale Moore, right? He had a hamstring injury that strung him out for, 2/3 of a season, and he didn't end up playing when we thought he would. The speedsters, obviously, the guys that are explosive. I was mildly athletic when I was young. I ran the 100 in high school and track and field. And I had a hamstring injury, and it kept me out. I was, absolutely in the prime of my life, right? 18, 19 years old. And actually, I was 17, 18. I was young for my class. But it's still a problem. It's pretty weird that it's still a problem. And maybe I sound like a moron doing it. I'm sure people out there that are scientific can tell me I'm stupid, but whatever. Brian T says, caught it live for once. Hooray. Thank you for the report and update. You're welcome, Brian. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry for, again, all the sidebars. Kevin Pass says, yo, catching you live. Been a while, brother. Let's go Boilers. I taught some locals the Lance dance this summer at a bar. Always good to be getting into dancing in the bar, and instructional dancing, even better. Very good, Kevin. And now they do it together like a mini Mackie. That's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Grant, my pal, big time Boiler, says, Boiler up. I like the makeup and the chemistry of this Purdue football team. I agree. I think there is something good happening. Obviously, I've thought there's something good happening on a lot of levels because of the depth that's been developed. That's all good. The fact that you have a bunch of guys that seem to get along, that's good. Adam from AJ's tells me these guys are pretty fun to be around. He's been around them quite a bit because they come over and grab a bite since the summer. So all the reports have been good. I haven't heard anything. And if you have heard, you can sidebar me, but I haven't heard anything that tells me otherwise. So I agree with you. Ted Berkey says, good afternoon, joining late. Sorry about that. That's okay, Ted. Really appreciate you getting here. But you're going to have to clean up afterwards. So that's the cost of being late. Ed Albanese again says, I know we're on football, but I am keen to see how the basketball team does, specifically the starters. Yeah, I haven't forgotten about basketball. Don't think. It's always in my heart. And the funny thing is, when I do a basketball quick cast, I get 3 to 5 times the viewers. It's bizarre to me. I would think, but I guess it's not true. Obviously going to Final Four changes the reach, but I would think most Purdue fans are Purdue fans, right? It doesn't matter football or basketball. So you're not alone in wanting to think or look ahead, but I love football season. I just love the sport of college football more than I do basketball, I think. Probably because of the day, and man, there's nothing better to me than a college football Saturday. It really isn't. And the fact that it's expanded a little bit hasn't ruined it for me yet. There are other things that will probably ruin it for me in the next couple of years, but as of now, we're pretty good. And if you didn't see this, Utah's coach said that major conference shifting and expansion is coming soon. As if we didn't need that, as if we hadn't had enough, as if we needed that. Another major shift in conference stuff is coming. You obviously hear grumblings with some of the ACC teams wanting to leave very, very quickly with the lawsuits. But now you have things out west as well with a relatively new member of the Big 12 talking about imminent changes. So There's a lot of smoke here again. Kevin Pass says, F Notre Dame. Thank you. Kevin Pass says, white hot hate for them. I'm with you. I think it's probably older rivalry stuff, but there are ways to ignite it. So we'll see what happens. Ben Carnahan says, would still rather my child go to IU than UND. So this is funny. This is an interesting thought exercise. And when my son was looking at schools, I pretty much said to him, if you can go to those two schools, you can find a real school. You can find a place that your education will be good and worth something at the end. This is not so. Everything put aside, my grandfather went to Notre Dame, so pardon me, the academics of Notre Dame are excellent. There's no doubt about it. The academics of IU can be excellent depending upon the major. But the thing that I look at is Notre Dame, there's a bunch of reports talk about this. The return of investment for Notre Dame is not good because it's so much money and it generally sends you right back to school to get a grad degree. I'm not a big fan of just going to school endlessly. I think you should get out there and work and see if you like what you're doing, then maybe go back to school and have your company pay for it. But I'm an IU. Yeah, IU still got special. There's some things I could talk to you about off camera that bother me about IU. Every large school has issues. Every small school has issues. I'm happy to be a Boilermaker. Proud of it too, obviously. Let's see. Kevin Pass says, do they still build their own lofts? No, they don't, Kevin. That's a good question. They have a third party do it. I can tell you, my dad and I built my loft for my freshman year, and it was an absolute disaster of a structure. The thing swung so badly it would bang against the walls, and then I had to duct tape a rag or two rags in the corners so I wouldn't destroy the paint in carry quad. But now they have these really nice, they're not huge structures like the old lofts from the 90s and 80s probably, if you built your own, that put both beds up on one big structure. Now they're one structure that kind of brings the beds over the televisions or whatever. So in my son's room, they've got a loft that was kindly provided by the Purdue residence halls. And then they had another bunk bed. So, no, you can't build your own loft, though. And probably because they know my dad and I are going to build it. It's going to do a bad job. Yeah. Kevin Pass says hydration helps hamstrings. And part of that, like the amount of work these guys are exuding, right? And what was it? Creatine or whatever, a lot of different things guys are doing to help their workouts. Dehydrate you quicker, right? So they got to stay on top of it, no doubt about it. Mrs. V at West Side wouldn't let us drink Gatorade because of that. What? Oh, wouldn't let us drink Gatorade because of that? Because of hamstrings? Water only. I've never heard somebody tell a team not to drink Gatorade. I in fact, I didn't believe in Gatorade until I got super dehydrated one summer playing a softball tournament, and I got tunnel vision. If you ever had that, it's crazy. And so I was destroying water, and it didn't do anything. So I needed the replacements of the salts. So I drank Gatorade, and I was back at it, and didn't have weird tunnel vision. So I kind of believe in Gatorade. I believe in the idea of electrolyte replacement, obviously, but never heard of a coach saying they didn't want you to drink Gatorade. Jim Garfinkel says the injury report also makes it look like maybe the O-line is beginning to get a little thinner. Yeah, absolutely. You see a couple guys there that have been held out, and then you see one obviously out for the season. But the good news is it still looks to me like the funny thing is, even after offensive line depletion due to these minor injuries so far, you still have better depth than you did last year. And that's incredible. And you still have the guys, the core looks really, really good, and they're all in good shape. So that's very, very good. Kevin Pass says, we are a basketball school. Okay, so this is something we've talked about a long time. My brother and I, who we've been football season ticket holders for a long time. Most of the last 27 years, been football season ticket holders. But he'd always joke football school, because he was frustrated also being a Boilermaker that was brainwashed thoroughly by his dad, our dad. He was frustrated that Purdue couldn't get over the hump in basketball. But I was always like, man, if you compare the hump they've gotten over, I know it's different, the tournament versus bowl game system. I would say they've gotten, they haven't gotten over the hump in football either, because when they go to the biggest stage, the Rose Bowl, they didn't win the last time. They won in 67. Obviously, very different. I would say that I understand why people say it's just a basketball school. I understand the success, obviously, is greatly outdistance football. I guess football and basketball are 1A, 1B, whatever you want to say. So I'm just going to say both. I'm going to go with that. So, but I get it. Yeah. Ted Berkey says, why not football, basketball, and volleyball? I like volleyball. I like the product. I love Coach Shondell. I think you can be a fan of all these. Dave here, Z Lions here at Boiled Sports, who used to write often for volleyball. He's the resident expert at volleyball. But I can tell you, during the Olympics, I watched volleyball, and yeah, it's a good sport. It's a good sport. I just don't know much about it, and I'm not going to speak about something I don't know much about. I mean, I think many of you would argue that I don't know much about football or basketball either, but I try. So, yeah, Kevin Pass says maybe a diving school or a golf school for a couple of years too. That's one thing during the last couple of years of Burke's time at Purdue. Purdue became pretty damn good at some Olympic sports and kind of a power, right? Obviously. So that's about it. Okay, that's a good quick cast, and it's 30 minutes. It's not a quick cast. I think 20 minutes is a quick cast, but 30 minutes is too long to call it a quick cast. But thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Appreciate the conversation, the banter, and hope you have a great afternoon. God bless you, Hammer.